section. Deputy Rabbitte, when you're ready.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle. My first question is to ask the Minister for Children and Youth Affairs if her attention has been drawn to the TUSLA decision to terminate its SLA with a programme in Galway, which is the Youth Advocacy Programme, which has been in operation in Galway for the last 16 years, and the negative impacts that it will have on all persons in Galway and Roscommon, because they don't just provide the service just to Galway, they provide it to Galway and Roscommon. Thank you.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy. TUSLA, the Child and Family Agency, has an annual service level agreement in place with the organisation to which the Deputy refers, YAP or YAP Ireland. Under the terms of the current agreement, the organisation is contracted in the Galway-Roscommon area to provide a support service to 18 young people in need. The young people are assigned an advocate that will work with them over a 6-month period. During the course of this year, TUSLA developed an initiative called Creative Community Alternatives, which is designed to support the planned exit of children and young people who are in residential care or foster care, and to avoid those at risk being placed in residential care. The overall aim of the community care alternatives is to enable children and young people at risk to live in their own communities with wraparound supports. Children and young people with extremely complex needs can display challenging and high-risk taking behaviors, drug and alcohol issues, mental health issues, attachment issues, educational problems, and family environmental issues. The broad-ranging intensive wraparound supports provided through the Creative Community Alternatives are designed to meet the identified needs of each child or young person. One example is a 9-month program which works intensively with a child or young person who is identified at high risk of admission to care. It's in partnership between, it is a partnership between Galway, Roscommon, Education and Training Board, Froiga and TUSLA. The program sets goals and measurable outcomes for each young person. There's a heavy emphasis on participation and citizenship. With the rollout of community care alternatives in Galway, TUSLA made a decision not to renew its service level agreement in the Galway-Roscommon area with YAP Ireland. TUSLA has also advised me that the decision not to renew the service level agreement was communicated to the CEO of YAP Ireland and the Director of Services on the 28th of June 2018, and a meeting was held in September of 2018. I think they're also currently engaged with YAP Ireland in relation to the termination of the service level agreement.
Report, Deputy.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. Needless to say, I would not have risen this question here today under a priority issue unless it was one that I would have deemed a serious priority in Galway. The fact that they have provided service for the last 16 years and the fact that they have looked after and provided that community for care alternatively, what you described there as to what TUSLA are looking for, and the fact that YAP nationally have a service level agreement with TUSLA, and within their own levels of governance, TUSLA, they say at it, their decision goes directly against TUSLA Corporate Plan 2018-2020 and the commitment to have a wide menu of services available to work with children, young people and families in need. Now, to me, Minister, what you're after telling me there is exactly what YAP do already in Galway. They already provide that wraparound service. It may not be for 9 months and it may not be children exiting care, but guess what YAP do? They prevent children falling into the whole care set up. That's what YAP is about. It's there for, they provide 26 weeks service where there is a worker who will work with not just the child but with the family, Minister.
Okay, thank you, Deputy. I do appreciate your questions and your concerns in that regard. I don't dispute the fact that obviously that YAP has been providing those services. But what I am here to, I suppose, identify is that in light of the review of that work of YAP, specifically in Galway, Roscommon, that they have identified that the approach that has been developed specifically there, it doesn't meet the identified needs of the children in that community in terms of both the length of service that is provided as well as the qualified professional staff to enable sustainable and local solutions. They've also advised that there is, no requirement for an advocate employed by YAP Ireland to have a recognized social care qualification. So what I am describing in terms of my response to you, not disputing what in terms of the past, but in terms of moving forward, the creation of a new approach, and in the context of Galway Roscommon, that is, from the perspective of TUSLA, more appropriate in terms of the length of time and also the professionals involved.
Thank you, Minister. It's quite worrying what you're after telling me here this morning, because it would lead me to believe that the work that YAP provide, Galway is the first in the cutting of these jobs then. That's what it would indicate to me, because if that's the decision we have made at a local level in Galway, it would mean then to me that the other 22 centres nationwide are possibly going to be hit because of this, because otherwise you would not have made, TUSLA would not have made that decision, unless they are going to roll out it nationwide, their community for care. I think it's also worrying as well that TUSLA are not listening to the fact that we have a shortage of skilled workers and how difficult it is to recruit into TUSLA and into those sort of organisations. That where are we going to find the staff? Because you talked about the fact that they don't have enough professional staff, yet at the same time YAP were able to provide a 24-hour service wraparound for those families and those children at any time that were on their books. I think it's unfortunate that maybe communications at a local level within TUSLA and YAP would have fallen down, and it is becoming very apparent. Thank you, Minister.
I appreciate the questions and the concerns of the deputy. I suppose just, in relation to your first issue there, I am not necessarily, all I am doing is reporting on the decision of TUSLA in relation to Galway Roscommon. Yes, YAP have services that operate throughout the country as well. I am aware of that. It does not necessarily follow, which is what the deputy is proposing, that this is just the first of many. That does not necessarily follow. As I understand it, in terms of the decision in the context of Galway Roscommon, is that TUSLA developed an approach in terms of analysis of the needs there, and on that basis have identified that they are going to terminate the service level agreement. I do appreciate that that is is something that can be is very challenging, as well as perhaps disheartening for the people involved in that regard. In relation, so I do appreciate that. That is the decision of TUSLA, and I have described, as I understand it, their rationale. Does TUSLA have adequate services in Galway to address further, Galway Roscommon, to address young people's needs? Your question in relation to a concern in relation to the necessary professionals. My understanding is they have developed significantly in the area of family supports. The local area has a contract with the National Youth Service for Oireachtas, and this service has 12 embedded staff working in the area of family support teams in order to support the work of